I am Malkarii. I'm the host of the show, and today we'll have Totemlydrunk back on to discuss the Overwatch League Season 2 that is coming up in less than a week from now. So it's a bit different than our normal episodes where we break down heroes and talk about how to play better and improve skills in game. Instead, we're going to be breaking down the current season and the changes that are being made compared to last season because we have all these new teams added and such. So if you have any questions, Totem's going to have an answer, and I'll sit here and look pretty while he answers your questions. Just kidding. I know a couple things, but Totem's got your back. If you're new to On The Point, this show is typically about helping the newer or more casual average players understand competitive gameplay better and how to improve their skills in-game, be it with characters or with their own personal gameplay and mentality towards the game. So today is a special episode, like I said. We're talking about the Overwatch League Season 2. So without further ado, let me get my intro video going here, and then we'll dive right in.
Pump up the volume. Oh, this'll be good.
Grab your drink, take a seat, because it's definitely time to get on the point with your host, Malkarii.
I'll be watching over you.
All right. So we have Totem. Welcome, Totem. Thank you for coming back to On The Point. You're my favorite guest. Don't tell the other ones.
I'm the most recurring guest, so
you are.
People are keeping track.
You're the fan favorite, or at least my favorite. So for those that may not be familiar with who the heck Totem is, let's give a brief rundown of who you are and where people can find you.
Absolutely. So I am Totemlydrunk. I am an Overwatch content creator, really focusing on all facets of the game, whether it is Overwatch, competitive Overwatch, the community, also podcasting in general. I do Overwatch Recall, which is a podcast hub, basically, where you can find a bunch of different content out there, whether it is on Twitch, through iTunes, or your favorite podcatchers, as well as some YouTube creators, because we have expanded the coverage on that quite a bit. But if you wanted to know where you can find me or learn more about the content that I do, you can just visit owlnshow.com or follow me on Twitter at TotemlydrunkCTR, and all of my info should be on there.
So like I always say, you basically eat, sleep, and breathe Overwatch. It is your life. I put your website up on the screen so people can check it out, owlnshow.com. So there are so many, there's changes, there's new teams, there's stuff to talk about. So the upcoming season starts on, was it February 14th?
Yep, that would be Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday. So yeah, in like 4 days, 5 days, a number of days. So pretty soon, pretty up close. So the games are happening in LA. I'm so bummed. I was supposed to be going down and seeing them live, but plans changed. So bummed about that. Mm-hmm. As everyone knows, I'm a Vancouver Titans fan because I live in Vancouver. So I really want to see the Titans play for the first time live. That didn't happen. But who is your favorite team currently, Totem?
Oh, that is a loaded question, because through and through, like, I basically got a huge into Overwatch esports due to the Korean scene. So I basically fell in love with Lunatic High, who is a good chunk of Seoul Dynasty. You know, that's my first team. And of course, Runaway. If you guys can't tell, I have pink and blue hair, so I kind of dyed my hair to support Runaway, both the Runaway that was signed to Vancouver Titans and also their rebuild, as they actually won Contenders Korea yet again, despite having a brand new roster, which is fantastic.
That is fantastic.
So Titans and Dynasty are my go-tos, but really, you know, I'm just a fan of competitive Overwatch, and there's not like one team out there that I absolutely despise, but I will say there are teams out there that I like to troll a lot more than others. I will leave it at that.
I'm a Titans fan, girl. Titans all the way. Go Titans. That's it. Actually, no, the Gladiators, because they have purple in their color scheme. I kind of like purple. So that's more of a vanity thing.
Right. It's not a bad choice. They have a pretty solid team, even despite losing Fisher. So I'm excited.
Yeah. So, oh man, there's so much we can tackle. Where would you like to start today, Totem?
All right, so there are a ton of changes in 2019. Let's start with the obvious. Well, the league has expanded from 12 teams to 20 teams, so we have 8 new expansion teams pretty much across the globe at this point. So joining the Atlantic Division, we have the Atlanta Reign, Paris Eternal, Toronto Defiant, and Washington Justice. And then joining the Pacific Division, we have the Chengdu Hunters, the Guangzhou Charge, Hangzhou Spark, and Vancouver Titans.
Yay, Titans.
So across the board, we've seen some like different ways that these teams have kind of gone about building their rosters. You have Paris Eternal, who have brought in this all-European roster, who pretty much for the most part, EU hasn't really had like the homegrown talent aspect in regards to one of the teams, just because the other EU team is London Spitfire, who are all Korean, so they got the hometown pride, and that's pretty much the same case with Chengdu Hunters, because they also went with more of a national roster, as pretty much everyone on that roster is Chinese, outside of like one Chinese Taipei player, which we'll probably get into in just a little bit. But outside of that, as we mentioned, Titans basically went out, they signed Runaway. They did add one person onto that roster, signed in Rappel, but pretty much across the board, there's a lot of talent coming in. A lot of it is coming from the Contenders Korea scene, and I'm really excited because they did sign a cast-in duo that comes out of Korea, which I'm really excited about because they're going to bring their expertise to their cast because of that. But across the board, we got 8 new teams. There's a lot to cheer about, and I cannot wait to jump right in this Thursday.
Yeah, I'm excited. Like, I'm not a fan of the Paris team or the China team, but I do love that it's more of a homegrown, like you got the European players, the Chinese players. I'm really looking forward to seeing how they compete against all of these Korean-filled teams. I mean, Korea is just known for dominating the esports market. I'm looking forward to, I just really hope that the European and Chinese team can really stick it to them, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And before you dive in too much further, I just want to say hi to AlphaGare. We have Ash back in chat. We have Deadstreamer, by the way. We have Xanarkin. We have Anira. Thanks, guys, for being here. Appreciate it. As always, I'm doing a loot box giveaway at the end of the stream. I'm not using a bot to choose a winner. I am just going to be paying attention to chat while Totem and I chat, and by the end of the stream, I'll see who's been active, who's been asking questions, who's been friendly to other people in chat, and you could win some loot boxes. I think the lunar event is still going on right now, so you get lunar loot boxes. Oh yeah,
even better. So you can get your 4 duplicates or something from not the event. I do want to answer what Deadstreamer by the way is saying. Am I really the only one who thinks the Outlaws are underestimated? Okay, so. You know how I talked about how there's one particular team that I tend to troll more than any others? It's actually the Outlaws. So here's the issue with the Outlaws. I don't necessarily think that they're being underestimated. It's just the fact that when you look at the teams around them, a lot of the other teams made bigger moves during the off season. So for the Outlaws, they went out and they got Dante. So they finally have like a Sombra Tracer specialist on that team. But at the end of the day, the Outlaws' issues weren't necessarily just at that particular position during that meta. Their support line has also been kind of plagued with a number of inconsistencies, whether it is ult usage or Bonnie just falling into self-destructs left and right. And Coolmet has been okay, but we have seen divas really come in and dominate the league, and just being okay at a position is not going to be good enough to really propel that team to the forefront.
So what you're saying is they need to do better. Play better, do better. Let's see. Was that a question? Nope. Sorry, that was not a question. I saw a question mark. Ash was not asking a question. All right. So yeah, people in chat, please ask questions. If you have a question related to Overwatch, I guarantee Totem has an answer, and usually it's a good answer. So just ask your stuff. Today's episode is about the Overwatch League, but if you have other Overwatch questions, I'm sure you can tackle those as well. So just ask away. There we go. A question from Ash. Who would you have pursued as Houston?
Okay, so their weaknesses are at off tank and on the support line. Well, here's the thing. Like, are we talking about people that are currently in the free agency pool? Or are we talking about who was in the pool at that given time? Because those can be two completely different answers. But I will say, like, there's a ton of great diva players out there. There's also a lot of good main tank players out there, but I don't think Muma has ever really been an issue with that team. He's probably one of the better Western tanks in the league overall. But in regards to diva players out there, I was really hoping that maybe they'd go out and try to pursue RCK. And of course, we did see Fuel ended up signing him, so that was kind of a bummer. Hawk is another really good player that I don't know if he's of age yet, but there's been a lot of like really potent talent at flex DPS, and Raucus has been serviceable, but I feel like he's someone that they could flex around a lot more. And, you know, those flex positions have been more prominent and more valuable as the seasons have expanded, because even just across the board, whether it's Divas or Zenyatas, they've really been kind of the focal point of a lot of these teams, to the point where, you know, we can use New York Excelsior as the best example of this. Basically, everything that New York does is just surrounded and built around Jonak.
Yeah, so Ash is expanding. So if you have the heart of free agency, who would you want? So let's assume that they decide they don't want to make an upgrade off Coolmat or Raucus, someone mid-season.
I would say Coolmat would probably be the bigger of the issues between the two. I know Raucus kind of gets a lot of hate, but a lot of people are forgetting, you know, Raucus's father passed away during season 1. Okay, so yeah. I'm not going to take, like, I'm not going to like downgrade him just based off of his performance at that time, because that would just be a really crappy thing to do. And I know like that had to have had some impact on him. There are McRavy from Team Envy would probably be my first choice if we're talking about that off tank position. He'd really be the go-to for me in particular. Raucus, I'm fine with. I feel like out of everyone, he probably gets the most unnecessary amount of critique in regards to the overall Outlaws.
So we have a really big question from Xanarkin, and we can go on forever with this one. Let's just the brief TLDR of how hard is it to get on a team, and what would you do to get started in Overwatch League? That's a big question. So
well, not everyone can get into the Overwatch League. I do know there are a ton of different pug servers that are available to the community where, you know, you can try to find a team. That's probably your best bet in order to try to put yourself into that pool. It's all really going to depend on what teams are looking for and whether or not you can fill the needs of that team. But, you know, there is always the option that, you know, you could look to form your own team. And there's a lot of like weekly tournaments or monthly tournaments, or even leagues per se, that expand anywhere from like gold level all the way to grandmaster that are run by the community. So I'd look there. I don't really know a lot of the names offhand because I'm not too involved with that side of the scene, but there are monthly tournaments going on, like Watchers Brawl, which is returning for its second month. That's pretty much streaming every single night. So just put a feeler out there on one of the Overwatch Reddits would probably be the best bet.
Yeah, probably.
But really getting involved in the Discord communities is probably the best route to go for now. And of course, if you're a content creator or if you have YouTube, definitely try to upload some of your VODs or some of your frag clips to your channel.
So let's say that you're a really good player and your goal is to go to the Overwatch League. What would you do? What steps would you take?
What was that, Malk? I'm sorry. Like, you have to remember, like, I'm having some ear issues because of my flu.
No problem. Yeah, we were talking before the show. Both of us are actually ill right now, so this is just fantastic. He can't hear. I have a headache. One pair. No problem. So I'm saying, like, hypothetically, let's say you're a really good player, like you're top-notch skills. Your goal is to get into the Overwatch League on a team. What steps would you take beyond like the community type, more organized things? Like, for example, contenders. How do you get into that?
A lot of that is built through Open Division first. there's really not a lot of players out there that just immediately jump to the tier 2 scene, which would be contenders. A lot of people kind of make their way up through open division, which is, I'm pretty sure they removed like the SR rating that like you need in order to qualify.
They did, yeah.
But if you're on a team, if you, it's dependent on like what region you're in too, because like only so many slots are available in contenders. But like, let's say you finish like top 4 in a, you have the opportunity to move up from contenders trials to contenders, and it kind of starts with open division, leaks into trials, and then into contenders, and then hopefully somewhere along the way, you could get pursued by one of the Overwatch League teams. Now, that being said, when it comes to open division, there's really not that many names out there that have just made the jump from open division straight to the Overwatch League. And someone that did make a sign-in straight out of open division was the London Spitfire, who won last year's Overwatch League. So they went out and they signed Krillin, who was on Crusher, which was an open division Korean team. And that's a flex support player. So I really don't know too much about him, primarily just due to the fact that not all of the trial stuff or open division has been streamed that often. So he's really like this big X factor, and he's going to be under the wing of Bedosian, who outside of Jonek is definitely top 2 or top 3 overall when it comes to that specific role.
That's impressive, being pulled out of open division straight into an actual Overwatch League team. But yeah, so Xanarkin, the TLDR of it's a process. Like, it takes a long time to get there. You can't just raise your hand, and like, you need to put the work in. You need to go through the steps and hope and cross your fingers that maybe you'll be noticed. It's not easy to get there. It's the top of the top that are selected for Overwatch League. Asha's first step, be a god. Yeah, pretty much. You need to be a really good player. Let's see. Oh, we have another question from Ash. So yeah, by the way, guys, this episode is basically like you guys ask questions and we'll answer them. We have no strict agenda that we're sticking to. We'll fill the silence, but please ask us questions. We're here to cater to your needs. So Ash is asking, of the teams that made more ample roster changes, so setting aside Houston, but who are you least impressed by?
Least impressed by? Oh man, that's a tough one, because there are teams out there that went for just a general overhaul, like Florida Mayhem and Shanghai Dragons, and with the Mayhem, I wasn't all that impressed with the talent that they brought in. Because, so they signed Apply to a 2-way contract, so by that I mean Apply is able to compete for Mayhem Academy, which is Mayhem's contenders team in North America, and also play in the Overwatch League, and there's certain restrictions in regards to availability of that player. But they kept Tavik, they kept Saya player, who, Tavik is definitely kind of past his prime at this point. I hate to say it, because I grew up watching him. Maybe he just needs to go back to his in-game name of Pluppy, and he'll return to form. I don't know. But basically last year, this entire team, their success was built off of Saya player. And a lot of the pieces that they brought on, they kept Awesome Guy, and then come to find out, earlier, in this week, he basically said, "Hey guys, I'm transitioning to a coaching role on this team." So now they have Swan, who's going to be serving as their main take. So they made this really big swap right before the season starts, and I don't know how it's going to work out, because there was a lot of concern going in with the Mayhem that, Tavik is just kind of going to be permabench at this point, because they went pretty much a full Korean route. And at the time, they didn't really have that Korean presence on the coaching staff. So there's been this huge question mark about, well, how is this team going to interact with one another when it comes to dealing with the strategies that they want to run, and just building that chemistry between the coaching staff and their players, because they had a number of issues with that last season, to the point where they had a really divided roster and coaching staff. And there's been some changes on the coaching staff too. They promoted Promise, who was on Mayhem Academy, who, I hear nothing but good things about him, but Mayhem Academy have been the only academy team in North America that have not finished the group stage in contenders with a winning record as of yet. And it's been 3 seasons so far. So I'm not sold.
No kidding. Yikes. So Zan's going back just on how to start a team. Why do you do that? So to start a team, you can just like ask friends, for example, advertise it on Reddit, just look for people that form a team. You can join the open division together, sign up as a team, and go from there. It's just really networking, looking for people, seeing who's interested, and just got to find people.
Yeah, and Ash mentions awesome guy changed his name. Yeah, he did. He is a SNT now. He is going to be on the coaching staff, but he is still going to fill as a substitute player. So he's still on the active roster, but I wouldn't imagine we're going to be seeing a ton of play from him if he's just going to be on that sub role.
You should have kept the name Awesome Guy. It's definitely more awesome than SRT or whatever it is.
SNT?
Yeah, SNT. Oh, man, I love the questions asked. Keep them coming. So I think that's it from that question. So something I would love to do is just do a quick breakdown of, now that there's 8 extra teams, so the format of the stages and what's going on is going to be a bit different this season. So you want to give just a brief breakdown of how it's going to work compared to last season?
Yeah, sure. Like, I'll go over like all of the changes when it comes to the schedule, because there's actually quite a bit here. So when it comes to the days that Overwatch League is being played on, we are no longer Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Everything is Thursday through Sunday. So when we're talking about the start times for Overwatch League, on Thursdays and Fridays, matches are going to be beginning at 4 p.m. Pacific time. And then on Saturdays and Sundays, they will always start at 12 p.m. Pacific time. So you'll have a little bit of competition, Milk. So good for you. Okay, so due to the fact that the league has expanded, we have more teams, we're going to have more games being played overall. And due to that, teams are now going to be playing 28 matches throughout the season, which excludes the playoffs. So that brings the total number of games per stage down from 10 to 7. So we're going from 40 matches per team down to 28. So we saw a lot of player burnout in Season 1. They basically learned from that, and we're going to see how it kind of impacts the player mentality at this point. So something else that they're doing is on Week 5, we're actually going to have road games. So games are going to be taken outside of the Blizzard Arena in Los Angeles, and you guys might want to roll your eyes because Los Angeles is still going to be one of the host cities, and I know a lot of people are up in arms about that. I'll get into that in a second. So we have Dallas Fuel, Atlanta Reign, and the LA Valiant serving as hosts during these weekends. So once a stage, I think excluding stage 4, is when they're going to be doing these home games. And this was a huge shock because everything that we had heard leading up to this point, before like it was announced, was home games are not going to happen until Season 3. So this is a good way for them to test out the logistics, just see how the production is going to work from a different venue, all of that good stuff. And I'm looking forward to it. Unfortunately, since there's no Chicago representation in the Overwatch League, I'm probably not going to get to attend this year, any of the road games, but I'm really happy to see how they're going to do. And LA Valiant, yes, I know they're based in LA. A lot of people are like, well, why are the Valiant listed on here? The Valiant were actually the first team that kind of had their home stadium set in place, and they had it like a year ahead of everyone else in the league. Not all of the teams have their venue picked out as of yet, so please keep that in mind. But yes, I know it's a little absurd that LA, that's not that far of a trip from the Blizzard Arena, so there is some truth to it.
Yeah, it makes sense, but still eye-rolling moment.
It definitely can be. So outside of that, teams will be playing anywhere between 0 to 2 matches per week. So we get the introduction of bye weeks for teams. If I'm not mistaken, the bye weeks are always going to be during the road games, because not all of the teams are going to be competing during those weekends at the host cities. So outside of that, we got the map pool expanding from 8 maps per stage to 12. So we got, one more map per type, which is awesome. So a bit more flexibility. Maybe we won't just keep seeing the same map over and over, which would be great. Yeah. They also moved the All-Star Weekend between Stage 2 and Stage 3. Last year, they had it at the end of the season for whatever reason. I don't know why. that just seemed kind of silly to begin with, because in no other sport is the All-Star game at the tail end of a season. That just doesn't happen, so that's where it needs to be. And then, last but not least, let's talk about the playoffs. So, stage finals are only going to be held after stage 1, 2, and 3. So, when we talk about the postseason, we're going to have 2 division winners, along with the next 4 teams based on record, regardless of their division. They'll all qualify for the playoffs. So, that gives us 6 teams. So, what's different this year is for the postseason, there's going to be a play-in tournament that will be played between the 7th through 12th place teams, and 2 teams are going to qualify based off of that play-in tournament, which would give us the top 8. And then for the league championship, these are the end-of-season playoffs. It's going to be a double elimination bracket, so let's say New York drops a ball again early on, they'll have a way to get back into the tournament through the lower bracket. So you have to lose twice before you're eliminated from playoff contention at that point. So pretty exciting stuff. It's also going to bring a lot more storyline aspects when it comes to the playoffs. So I'm pretty excited to see that.
You do like your storylines. I'm excited to see, because the Overwatch League, the esports scene with them, it's still newer. So seeing them make changes and improvements this season compared to first season, they've learned from their mistakes. I'm looking forward to this new layout, like for example, the All-Stars tournament being moved. It just makes more sense. The LA home game doesn't make sense, but I'll allow it. Now, for those watching the games on Twitch, for those that aren't aware, Twitch has a season pass. They had one last year. They have one this year. That I think it's like $14.99 or something. Mm-hmm. And you can actually watch the games through Twitch. And what's cool is they've added a feature where you can actually change the point of view if you want to follow a certain character, or have a split screen. You want to follow multiple people. You can really control your viewing experience. So I guess I'm promoting Twitch's thing, but like it I bought it. It is a neat thing, so definitely check it out if you're interested in watching the games. I like the features that they've added.
Yeah, and you also get like a ton of unlockables through it as well. I don't see. Here's the thing: like a lot of them have been like behind the paywall of the All Access Pass. Mm-hmm. So I know like some of them are Twitch emotes. They haven't really said too much about in-game skins like they did last year, but I would expect that we are to get in-game goodies as well. But for the most part, like we're to get emotes, we're to get badges for Twitch, and the player point of view. I wanted it to be like a standalone client, like it was for the World Cup. Mm-hmm. But I also understand, like, Twitch needs their perks. They had a huge broadcast deal. It's worth $90 million for the Overwatch League, so I can understand it.
Yeah, their company, they want to make some money, too. But yeah, so I think you also get some of the League tokens as well, so you can buy a couple skins.
It was 200 tokens.
Yeah, so I think that's 2 skins you can buy, or so 2, yeah.
Yeah, it's 2, and they also are giving people a 20% off code for Overwatch League gear.
Oh, there you go. So if you haven't purchased this yet, definitely think about it. This isn't an ad, I'm not sponsored. It's just a cool feature that if you're not familiar about it, you should definitely look into it. It's neat. Neato. Mm-hmm. See, Ash has it. You get that cool little badge next to your Twitch name. It's neat. It's cool seeing the Overwatch scene evolve, all the esports and shenanigans and stuff like that. If you have any more questions, please get them in. We're not going to make this episode too long today, which is tough because there's so much to talk about on this topic. So if you have any further questions, pop them in chat. Totem, is there anything? Actually, something that I would like to talk about is the leading up to the actual season start. There's these little matches and things they're doing. Do you want to talk about that?
Which aspect of it? Are we going to talk about the part that a lot of people aren't happy about, or are we going to talk about the more like all-star event stuff?
Okay, no last dose. Let's go with both. Why not both?
Okay, so yesterday and today they are doing what they called practice scrims, which it's actually not. So basically what's been happening is yesterday, to start off, we had a lot of players that were playing off role. So they're not playing the characters that they normally play. They're also not playing the main role that they play. So you had a lot of like diva players playing like Zenyatta, or main supports playing main tank. So we saw Jonak get to play a little bit of Reinhardt. And overall, it's so close to the season that nobody wants to actually put forth like a true effort. So it's really taken away from the enjoyment, and a lot of the community has not been happy about it. Now, the fact that this is happening so close to the season as well has also been pretty negative amongst the player base for the Overwatch League players, because you don't want to unveil any of your cards just before the season starts. So you had a lot of teams that were basically memeing and trolling in the games, and it got to the point where Nate Nanzer stepped in, and the last set of yesterday's games, they ended up switching to Mystery Heroes, which in itself is kind of an eye roller too. So all of today's matches are Mystery Heroes. So, a lot of that is going to just come down to RNG. But fast forward a couple of days, or, the next couple of days anyway, we're going to have some different community events where they're going to have like a 1v1 Ash tournament, or not really a tournament. It's more, they're going to pit two players against one another, and then they have circuit matches that they are doing. They're also doing paintball matches as well as capture the flag. So it's like, it's a primer to like the season start. It's a way to, get people involved, a way to give kind of back to the community, because they are like streaming from Jane's channel, from ZP, who is another caster. I know my good friend Shanman is actually getting to do one of the streamer ones as well, which is awesome. Same with the Blevins is going to be casting some matches with Lemon Kiwi during that stream, which is fantastic. So one of the Overwatch podcast OGs is on the streamer list, which I would not expect ever. So that was awesome. Cool. But across the board, like I'm not going to say like everyone needs to go out and watch, the team practices, but to label it as like a scrimmage is 100% false advertising. Like no one is going to play the role. It
makes sense that they're not going to want to show their strats and like their skills right before the season starts. Like, why? That's like playing poker and like having your cards facing everyone else. Why would you do that?
Right.
So yes, I understand the frustration, but also I understand why they're doing that.
The problem was this year, a lot of teams ran into visa issues. Last year, the preseason was like a month before the start of the season, which is more respectable. Like I was assuming we would have a similar time frame, but some teams didn't get into LA until like just this past week. So that wasn't necessarily an option for them to run. So it's just one of those things. Like they made do with what they could, but it's not really like the best way to like put your foot forward going into the new season. But I understand the frustrations, but at the end of the day, Overwatch League is a week away. Like I'm not going to be upset over a couple of days worth of Mystery Heroes when that's what I primarily play to get loot boxes. Like it's fine. Like I can deal with it. People can calm their nerves just a little bit. We're only, 4 or 5 days out at this point.
Exactly. The real actions are going to start soon. Just have fun with it while you can. As you're saying, look at them as exhibitions. Then it's different. Exactly. Like still watching pro players play Mystery Heroes, I think it's interesting because Mystery Heroes, especially if you're not familiar with all the heroes, like generally you don't have a good time because you're just dying immediately. So seeing these pro players competently play all the heroes and seeing the different play styles is still like a neat thing to watch. But yeah, it's not like Totem says, it's not the actual scrim, it's not actual gameplay, but it's still a neat thing to see. Stop being so salty, Overwatch community. Stop it.
Some things never change.
Never change. But Mr. Heroes, I enjoy. That's how I learned that I liked certain heroes. That just looking at the hero in like the character selection screen, I wouldn't choose it because I'm like, Zenyatta doesn't sound like my type of hero. I played Zenyatta in Mystery Heroes, and now they're one of my favorite characters. So, still not fantastic at Zenyatta, but I love them. So it's just a great way to practice and become more flexible if you need to be. Don't be a one trick. Have at least a few heroes under your belt. Hey, Felipe, I see you there. So any other questions, guys? Throw them at us. Otherwise, we can just keep rambling about Overwatch League stuff.
Yeah, I will note that they did make some new additions to the broadcast team this year. So, as I mentioned towards the start of the episode, with the heavy influx of Korean talent in the Overwatch League this season, they brought in season casters Achilleos and Wolf, and these two have been casting Korean Overwatch since the early days of Apex. Now, I know probably not a lot of our viewers were watching during the Apex days of competitive Overwatch. Basically, Apex was a Korean tournament where they had a lot of Korean talent, or a lot of Korean teams, and they would invite teams from the North America scene, from Europe. So it was really one of the only sort of like inter-regional competitions in competitive Overwatch. This would later go on to become Contenders Korea with the introduction of the Path to Pro scene this past year. So to have these two casters who have basically just been entrenched in the Korean scene was a huge get. I did not expect them to actually get up and leave, because I know, if I'm not mistaken, Wolf has been in Korea for like the past 8 years. So for him to actually move back to North America temporarily was not something that I thought was even in the cards. So I'm happy to see them getting picked up. And because I do watch a lot of Contenders Korea, like there's no better get out there to talk about the new talent that are coming in. So
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Outside of that, we also have some new insiders. So they went out and picked up Danny Lim, Emily Tane, and Mika Burton. So Danny and Emily are going to be serving as Korean and Chinese translators, respectively. Then you'll also have Mika working on post-match interviews as well. So obviously, you know, a lot of Korean talent. We have some new Chinese teams, a lot of Chinese players starting to come into the Overwatch League as well. So we're not going to have like that awkward moment where we have to like translate like 6 times in order to get the answer from the players.
Mm-hmm.
So they're basically like cutting out the middleman when it comes to the post-game interviews, which is going to be a happy change and leave for a little bit less over talk.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that more streamlined thing. I wonder if Paris is going to have a translator. I'm not sure if their players are fluent in English or not, but I'm curious about that too.
Right. Ashley's asking about what map am I most curious about to see what teams have plans for. Oh man, this is a tough one. I would have to look at the map pool. I will say Route 66 has been my favorite, primarily just due to the fact that we've seen a lot of quad DPS at the start.
Mm-hmm.
And since we've been in a GOATS meta for what seems like an eternity, I'm really happy to see that.
Yeah.
Rialto is another one that is still newer in the sense. So we've seen a lot of like Pharah, Roadhog combinations, trying to get the boop off of that early bridge.
Mm-hmm.
We've also seen a lot of double sniper compositions. So those two are probably my primary picks. And of course, King's Row, just because that's kind of like the staple. You know, we can see a lot of GOATS compositions. We can see a lot of dive, a lot of double sniper. We've even seen some bunker compositions or high ground compositions where, you know, we see Junkrat, Orisa comps, which is always fun to see. And that's really been the staple competitive Overwatch map since day one. So I'm always happy to see King's Row. So those would be my 3 main picks.
I just want to see Junkertown.
You want to see the 8-7 map score Junkertown, huh?
I do.
Well, they're trying to have like matches where it's only like an hour and a half in between, Melk. So I don't know if having Junkertown going that many rounds is to the best fit of the schedule.
One can hope. I just love it because it's Junkrat's thing, and you know I have a love for Junkrat. It's a fun map though, not necessarily for Overwatch League though.
Right.
All right. So Ash is curious to see Busan. I am curious to see Busan as well.
Yeah, Busan out of like let's say like the past 4 or 5 maps is the one that has a lot more different elements to it, just because there are parts of the map. It was Mecha Base that has like the raisin walls. So there's a lot of positioning things you have to like kind of keep an eye out for when it comes to that. And we do get to see like quite a bit of Mei when it comes to walling off the entry points on that map. So if you're wanting to see Mei play, Busan is definitely in the cards. Same with like Point A on Hanamura. And to that point, also like Lijiang Tower Command Center.
All the maps are good. I just like them all.
Except Temple of Anubis.
Yeah, except that one.
I'm never going to like that map. I'm sorry. Like, I don't care how many changes they make.
It's tough. But yeah, on that point, we're about 40-ish minutes into the episode, so we do need to start winding down. So unless there's any last second questions, anything about their Overwatch League, how it works, any specific team questions, get them in now. Otherwise, we're gonna peter off here at the end. That being said, you can always bug Totem, and I encourage you to bug Totem all the time. Bug him on the Twitter, bug him during his other shows and podcasts that he does. Like I said earlier, he eats, sleeps, and breathes Overwatch. He's my go-to guy when I have my derpy, silly newbie questions. So I encourage you to bug him as well. In fact, let me just get your info back up on the screen here. And your
Which expansion team am I most excited to see? That is...
Titans.
Okay. Here's the thing. I am a Runaway fan at heart. So, of course, my answer is going to be Vancouver Titans. Outside of the Titans, Hangzhou Spark are another team that I bought a jersey for. And it's not just because they're pink and blue. Like, I'm still a little bit upset that, Runaway was never going to keep their colors just due to their affiliation with Vancouver. But the Spark, I am a huge fan of Gushwei. He was a main tank for the Chinese Overwatch World Cup team. And there's a lot of great talent on that team, pretty much across the board. So Gushwei, to me, is going to be one of the stand-up players to keep an eye out for. And if there is going to be like a front runner for potential like rookie of the year, at least at that position, Gushwei is going to lead the way in that regard.
Now, Totem, actually, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Regarding Vancouver Titans, because you are a Runaway fanboy, so you know the players quite well already. So I need to buy myself a Vancouver Titans jersey, and I haven't bought one yet because I'm not sure. I don't know which name to get on it, so I have not. Okay. So let's break this down for me, because you know the heroes or the players rather way better than I do.
Okay.
So you said you got Slime, was it?
No, I bought Bumper, who's the main
Bumper,
tank.
Yeah. Okay. I have no idea which name to get. What are your
You have no idea what name to get. See, I also went through this dilemma.
Yeah.
And I was like, I like everyone on this team. Who am I going to get? Well, it was like, I could get a base jersey, but I'm like, no, I'm just going to get the Hangzhou Spark base one. I want to get like an actual player jersey for the team that I know 100% I'm committed to. So I went with Bumper, primarily just due to the fact that I am playing a ton of main tank right now. So I figured might as well rep the role that I play. So are you looking for something that's hero specific?
Maybe like I'm not a tank player. I'm more of like I flex between like support and damage, and I'll tank if I absolutely must. But like I'm definitely a support player. And I also take into factor like just the sound of their name, like Slime, for example. It's an awesome name.
See, if I was to choose one outside of Bumper, I would have gone with Twilight.
See, I'm against getting that one because of the not because of the player, they're great, but because of that book series that I don't want any ties to that.
Okay, so that narrows it down to Slime.
Slime, I guess.
I mean, you could get Rappel, who's kind of like the odd man out because he wasn't part of Runaway. So, like, I feel like across the board, he might be on the lower end of the spectrum in regards to, like, overall sales.
What I might have to do is just get a base jersey and then see how people play throughout the season, see who my favorite is, and then get the jersey depending on that. Because maybe I love Bumper. Maybe I'll be all about the main tanks. Milk Twilight main confirmed. No.
Right.
No.
Ash is asking about expectations for the expansion teams. And 100% Vancouver Titans and Hangzhou Spark have been rated as the highest between not only the Overwatch League players, analysts, a lot of the competitive Overwatch community. Those two definitely have a lot on their plate to live up to. I would say pressure-wise, it's more going to be on Vancouver, just due to the fact they are coming off of their win in Contenders Korea in Season 2. Mm-hmm. And this has been one of those teams who have been together for quite a long time. There's a lot of like family values to this team. And without Flowervin being a part of the Vancouver Titans like coaching staff, it's going to be curious to see how they're going to fare without like the team mom there. So like Flowervin is back in Korea with the new runaway roster who are competing in Contenders Korea. They went undefeated. They did fantastic. Everyone wanted to go to them just because, that was the team that just came off of a championship win. But there's a lot of talent on the Titans, but they don't have necessarily like that one like star DPS player. They don't have someone that is 100% like the person you build a team around. They have a lot of depth to their roster, but they're not necessarily like top 2 or top 3 at any given role. And I feel like because of that, you're going to be seeing like someone new each week start to step up on this team. So I wouldn't worry about too much how the Titans are going to do necessarily, just because looking back at season 1, you had a lot of these rosters that basically went out and picked up a team wholesale. We'll use London and New York, for example. You had London who picked up Contu Panthera. New York was built around Luxury Watch, and both of those teams came in and they got off to the races early on. I'm expecting something similar out of Vancouver, but the pressure is definitely going to be on them, and they have a big chip on their shoulder.
And they have me to worry about.
Yeah, at least now they don't have to worry about, you taking any of their social media handles. They already changed it all out, so we're good on that front.
Yep, I still have that handle. It's great. For those that aren't aware, I have the Titans OW handle. That's mine. I took it before they announced what their handle was going to be, and not realizing that was the exact handle they wanted. That's why when they revealed the team officially and the Twitter account and all that, they had to have an underscore at the end of Titans OW because you're a monster. We know. We've been through this. I'm a monster. But for those that aren't aware, this is something I did. I'm always going to say it to shame myself. I like AlphaGear's idea of getting a jersey with Malkarii on the back. I should look into doing
you
that.
can in fact get custom named jerseys. I will say this though. I did order a jersey. It's not here yet, but there have been a lot of inconsistencies with like the player jerseys that we're seeing that the players wear and what they're actually offering through Fanatics. So I would wait. There's been a little bit of talk about changes coming to the jerseys because I'm pretty sure like a lot of the like numbers and player names were like iron pressed. Okay. And some of them, like I know the Atlanta Reign jersey in particular, like they have a really dark color scheme and the text on the back was done in black. So you have like this dark gray, like charcoal, and then you have black lettering and numbers for the player names. And a lot of people are not happy just because you can't really read it that well.
Yeah, that's not great design.
Yeah, so I don't know what's really going on there. There's also been an issue with the fact that shipping costs internationally has been a pain in the butt for people. And Fanatics do not have a EU store opening until May. Yikes. So I would say right now, if you're wanting to get a jersey, be cautiously optimistic or just wait to hear from me, and I will let you know what the quality is, because I am concerned just due to the fact that there has been a lot of backlash early on, at least through, the first releases of the merchandise. So I would say stay tuned, and we'll see where it goes from here.
I'll wait and see what it's like. I can wait. I still have my signed shirt, the entire Vancouver Titans team signed. I'm not going to wear it because I don't want to wash it, but I have it. I can hold it up in front of myself and rep the team.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's what we need. We need rally towels.
Yeah, that's what we need.
We need to get on it.
All this merch. So we're going to wrap up here, but guys, keep on bugging Totem. Follow Mal's things. If you are interested in all things Overwatch, she has exactly 20 different podcasts that he does. I'm sure it feels like it sometimes.
It's four.
420, basically the same thing. I mean, 4 is still a lot. And then you guest on my show all the time too, so it's like 4.5. But like I said, you eat, sleep, and breathe Overwatch. Make sure you guys are following him on all the things and keeping up with what he does. He's my go-to Overwatch guy. Yeah, Centerkin 24. So loot boxes. I know you guys are probably sitting here waiting on who I'm going to announce. I'm actually going to choose. Let's go with 2 people. I'm going to choose 2 people to win loot boxes this week. It's going to be Ash. All those wonderful questions, Ash. So loot boxes for you again. Thank you for being here. And then AlphaGear. You've just been really friendly in chat, as you always are. You're just like a little teddy bear all the time. So, Alpha Gare and Ashikaru, I'll get you guys those loot boxes after the stream here. I think I have you both on it already, so I can easily send this to you. Thank you so much for being here. So Zanakin, what's funny is even though Totem is super knowledgeable about all things Overwatch, he's not exactly a super high level player. And I'm pretty sure that's correct, right? Right, Totem? You're not necessarily.
I'm in the Plat Promised Lands, and I feel like I'm going to stay there, primarily just due to the fact that I have so much going on with content creation. I don't really have the time to play that often, per se. But I do keep up.
You just know everything about it.
I mean, I do still play. It's just mostly in like arcade and like I think like right now like I'm leveling an Anna account who I am atrocious with, and we're like all of our podcast hosts are doing like new characters, new roles, and it's going to be an absolute disaster. And I cannot wait to get that account to 25 so I can place really terribly.
It's gonna be great. I'm curious to see what you place. All right, Zanakin, maybe I'll play with you. I can't necessarily carry you. I myself am not a professional player by any stretch of the word, but I have fun. All right, on that note, we can talk forever, but we're gonna end this here. I'll get those boxes to you, Ash and Alpha, and I have no idea what year we're talking about next week, next Sunday, but I'll announce it on the Twitter. I look forward to seeing you guys there. So on that note, you guys, and hopefully my thing works this time, but on that note, always remember to get out on the point. Thanks, Totem.
No problem.
Pump up the volume. Oh, this'll be good.
I'll be watching over.